I really hope Starfield is good. It is like as much as I'm totally down there for the Star Citizen more live online version, really Starfield is laser targeted to what childhood me would go insane for. I really hope it's good. But Matt,
yep,
Starfield looks like a game that'll take a lot of time, and we've been talking about time a lot lately.
I love time. It goes so slowly. You're sitting there watching it tick. You're like, man, I have all the time in the world. What do I do about this?
There's a certain phrase.
Yep.
Certain phrase. Time is money, friend.
Time is money, friend.
So,
indeed,
I think we're going to do some sort of real, deep sort of smanger of a video on this at some stage.
Yep, absolutely.
We want to talk about it on stream because more and more and more games are making us realize that time is money, because they are quite overtly making things grindy or whatever, and then just being like, oh, well, for the discerning professional with only a few hours of gaming a week, you could always take this path and it'll be a bit faster. Or in the case of Diablo Immortal, literally insanely gigafaster. But while Diablo Immortal might be the thing that really appears in your head, Lost Ark is a million times a time is money game, because you could grind all those resources on your alt characters, or you could buy them in the marketplace. And if you have a limited amount of time, and maybe you have, you're less limited by money than you are by time, then you use some money to buy some time. And then you get to have a more optimal experience on your main character. And then you move to World of Warcraft, where for loads of people, how many stories have we all got? You're just sitting there getting declined from, Mythic Plus groups and a character you're trying to get some gear on, or maybe you get a whole bunch, you get really bad luck with drops, or you lose some rolls. Not that that's really a thing that happens as much anymore with personal loot. But then you just think, I could just buy a few WoW tokens and I could get a run that has the loot funneled to me.
Yeah.
Via mechanics. Right? Or, I could just get my 4 Mythic Plus 15s this week for a whole bunch of gear and a totally, not to pay for 10, but, a nice thing waiting for me in the vault. And for a lot of people, it's like, well, okay, I could get that done in maybe 90 minutes if I just pony up, $1 million gold. I don't even know how much that stuff costs now. And for some of us, that's crazy. Like, that's so much money. But evidently, for a lot of people, it's not. And in World of Warcraft, because of token, time equals money. It's like, okay, you're in college, don't have disposable income, you have a whole bunch of time after your lectures. Cool. Farm shit and WoW. Buy WoW token. Pay for your sub that way.
Yeah, it's very, very...
Time is money.
Yeah,
it's the business model.
Yeah.
And every time somebody takes the time is money solution, Blizzard gets an extra $5 for those 30 days.
Yeah, it's very, very nice of you to use the very nice example of a college student with free time, as opposed to literally entire buildings full of Chinese gold farmers.
Happened in the past.
Watching a couple of documentaries, and that was very, very interesting. Very fun seeing the entire thing of... Yeah, here's all these college students not students, of student age people in China who are going to work by farming World of Warcraft gold. And it worked. And they were all in like tightly packed dorms, shoulder to shoulder, playing computer. We're like, this is actually kind of cool. Then 6 months later, they're like, oh, my eyes don't work. Oh, my back's destroyed. Christ, this is grim.
Grim. So, the anatomy of monetization, as you put it.
Yeah, so that's the thing is, like, obviously you go, okay, well, it feels so strange, right? The whole time is money thing. Obviously everyone understands it, but then it seems to get into games in a weird way, and people always like dispute it. They'll be like, oh no, well, it's not really pay to win, it's not really pay for progress, whatever. They'll have reasons to kind of get around it in terms of like the rationalization. Whatever mental gymnastics it may be required to go, actually, no, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Directly a function of time. But if you like actually logic through it, it becomes exceedingly obvious.
Yeah, like the character boost.
And unavoidable. Yeah.
The character boost is like, well, some people say pay to win. It is absolutely pay to skip. But then for a lot of people, it's paying to skip the bit that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Therefore, they accept it.
Yeah, it's convenience.
And I suppose where it starts to really become a problem for people is when you're skipping the bit that matters because you just want the reward.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like to different people, it's what matters to them is kind of the point. And then it's like, when do you... Well, I guess it's the thing where people pay to skip the thing they don't mind. Sorry, people pay to skip the thing they don't like. but then they'll do the thing they like and be like, it's fine. But then other people have different opinions on what is worth skipping and not, this kind of thing. Where I completely think that the whole process of gearing up from starting from low Mythic Plus all the way up is, especially as a pug, is really pointless. Because gear doesn't matter that much when you have some semblance of skill, know your rotation.
You could pay 250 quid for a bunch of boost runs, and that's going to save you a few hours an evening. So if somebody's earning $20 an hour, like if they've got a pretty nice situation, then zoom.
Yeah,
done.
Yeah, that is exactly the case. Where it is in terms of me playing World of Warcraft, and even because I'm not even that particularly a goal oriented person in games, I kind of like the experience of them, the novelty of them. But if I wanted to say get the season mount, it would be more efficient for me to just work more and then go and take that money and go and buy boosts, because there's RNG that I don't enjoy really engaging with, because it's so kind of, the reward's not worth the actual disappointment of it, because it's all a means to an end.
Yeah, so basically in real life, an hour passes. Virtual time, an hour passes, right? Time is time.
That's fundamentally the problem we get here, where if we all had, hyperbolic time chambers where we could go in and, you start playing World of Warcraft, you play World of Warcraft for 72 hours, you come back out, no time has passed. This wouldn't be a problem at all.
Yeah.
But it's like, all of video games are these big virtual worlds that feel isolated from like real world factors and real world economies. But there's always that one link, time. And someone will find a way to sneak the wallet in.
That's it. Yeah. So virtual time, when that is spent, you earn gold. Gold can equal progress, right? So you could buy mounts in classic, BOEs, crafted gear, some other miscellaneous items, and then all the other gear in the game that is the best gear in the game via boosts. But of course, money, that's real time. Real time equals real money. Ergo, money equals real time equals virtual time equals gold equals progress. And then, of course, with RMT, it shortens the chain. It's just money, gold, progress. And then, for some, it's like, well, just okay, money, progress, literal pay to win. Buy the item. You're just cutting all the steps out in the middle.
Yeah,
time is money.
And that's the thing. If you look at it from this perspective, the reason it's not money, progress is just because everyone will go, what's the point?
Yeah.
But then you go money, gold, progress, and you go, oh, I'm getting a little boost ahead in terms of I'm still engaging in this virtual economy, which has meaning in the virtual sense. Like the I'm playing the game. So if you give like, I suppose the best way to put it would be if you logged into World of Warcraft and there was a shop item that was called a boost, and you bought it, and then whatever price it was, and then 4 bots actually went through a mythic dungeon with you, and you were guaranteed they were way overpowered, whatever else, and then you got a little bit to play, but it was basically free win.
Yeah.
People would do that and go, well, that's fucking pointless. It's pure pay to win, pay to skip. But because there's some semblance of the player economy left, it's ultimately the same thing, except it's engaging the player economy part of it. So it's fundamentally the same, but it just feels a bit more palatable. Because it's not really that much, it's not really cheating, it's not really skipping. It's part of the economy. But it's also not at all. It does have those external elements. Brutal, but
yeah, and that's the overall thing, right? Now this was like most prevalent with RMT back in the day. I mean, that's even when like fucking Steve Bannon's getting a slice of this pie. One of the crazier stories you'll hear. Yes, that one was kind of tangentially involved in WoW RMT. Because it turns out that actually ended up being really big business. Now Blizzard hates. They hated the RMT.
Of course.
They did so much to stop it, but ultimately there's just too many people with too much to gain.
Yeah.
Right? So instead, how do you do that? Well, they basically just, in a way, legitimize RMT by doing WoW Token, which means that finally players who want to buy gold can buy gold. But now, instead of perhaps, I guess the original way it used to be, it would often be a bunch of fellas in a room just grinding gold. Then I think one of the things that really angered Blizzard about the RMT is it involved hacking accounts, cleaning out all their gold. So then it evolves into, all right, so who is the gold farmer? Oh, the gold farmer is actually just, I don't know, some kid in Iowa.
Yep.
Someone who is just maybe back in the day running all of their Cataclysm dungeons or their Cataclysm raids, right? To get, the real gold or the raw gold farms or whatever. That is now the gold farmer. And for every 30 days worth of gold that gold farmer sells, Blizzard collects a $5 commission.
Yep.
For enabling them to farm gold for time. Because time equals money, and the bit that they don't have is the money, therefore they use the time that they have to acquire it. Blizzard takes the $5. So that essentially means Blizzard has been able to almost vertically integrate professional gold farming into their own business model. Like, that is why WoW Token, straight up, is a fucking genius business model.
Really is.
Like, it is utterly genius that, that they did it, that they pulled it off. And it is, I think, broadly accepted by most players. I think that within our audience, within the online spaces, the really engaged people, you're obviously going to see a lot more pushback. But for the average person who plays WoW, the way that they engage with this is, I don't have time to farm some raid mats or whatever. Cool, I'll just buy a token, top myself up. And that's just the way that they see it, and they never really think about anything else. And then, of course, for some people, they are just, really going hyper in that so that they can fuel a whole bunch of boosting. But either way, Blizz wins. They enlist loads of people doing that for free. They ideally cut the bottom, or, they sort of change up the pricing dynamics of, of the RMT space. And as well, like with RMT, it might be cheaper. It might be cheaper, but then, of course, there's the risk premium, where it's so much more risky that you're always generally, unless you're a major or race to world first guild, you just straight up admit it. Yeah. I mean, hey, I could at least respect the fucking gonads for that one. Yeah. Well, you see what I mean, right? Like, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a thing where this is like, because Night Stalker Punch is a 17-year-old problem. It's like, yeah, this is a problem that is fundamentally core to the design, because it is virtual work, right? It's virtual work that you can exchange with other players for a currency. There is a virtual economy, but the virtual economy has a real world, real world translation. There's a real world translation layer, a real world, currency exchange, and that is real time. So if everyone was immortal, this wouldn't be a problem. Well, it still would be a problem because people kind of, would race for stuff and then want to, sleep, etc. But it's that fundamental thing of, this is literally just a really super deep problem. And
yeah, it's because it's meaningful.
Yeah, exactly.
If people didn't want to do RMT, you wouldn't have a successful World of Warcraft, because there wouldn't be any meaningful work for meaningful rewards for people to undercut.
Yeah, I guess it's in the same sense of, if you have a game that people want to play and has a leaderboard, you'll have people who want to cheat.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the case where, people want to cheat in our PvP game to get on top of the leaderboard. Why don't we sell them obviously in some cases you're not going to literally sell cheats, but if you're doing that in Diablo Immortal as an example, you might as well sell them player power, which lets them effectively cheat because they have an advantage over other players.
Diablo 3 auction house.
Yeah, exactly.
Overtly they say, we saw people selling items in eBay and that was pretty sketchy, so instead we'll just make the auction house ourselves. That's why we've done it. What's that? There's a commission? No, that's just there. Don't think of that's not the reason why we did this. It's obviously so that they like how they vertically integrated the whole gold farming economy as much as they could with Token. The Diablo 3 auction house was to vertically integrate D3 RMT. This was D2 RMT was the thing they were aping it off, but time equals money. But it's like the fact that somebody would be willing to purchase that Diablo gear from the Diablo auction house shows that gear is scarce and meaningful and desired, and that's because the game has a successful loot loop that makes people actually want that and actually want to farm it but recognize they can't, so therefore they buy it. So it's in a way the mark of a game where people want to do well. Is it a bit like, your character designs, they're good whenever people just start making porn of them?
Yes.
Right, with Overwatch, so maybe here it's like, your game's good because there's a massive grey market.
Yeah, that's the thing where I was thinking about this and going, man, because obviously I think this is a real terrible problem, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse and worse and worse, and it's especially to me getting worse with the prevalence of, to me, developers kind of knowing this and going, well, we might as well abuse it. And it's hard to really, especially in the WoW token case, it is really hard to go, well, fuck Blizzard, because they're kind of solving a problem at the same time. And I think they're relatively justified for it.
Yeah.
I do think it does have the fundamental issue of, oh, yeah, I see that now Blizzard have skin in the game. Now gold means that Blizzard can actually literally profit off gold, which makes it a little bit of a different flavor to third parties profiting. Unless there are cases where World of Warcraft developers were literally like getting money on the side from RMT people. I highly doubt that, because I think everyone at Blizzard, especially back in the day, would have had very high standards for what they think about World of Warcraft and its security as a virtual economy. But
well, it certainly means that like somebody who says that the legendary system of Shadowlands totally encourages the spending of WoW token, like that is not a ridiculous thing to say.
no,
You know, people who are generally very pro Blizzard, very much, you know, that or whatever, like they will say that too. Like everyone knows this.
Yeah.
But then you get, so like there is the potential incentive there for time is money to be abused by the developers of the game, because now they have bad incentives, right? Because for every single person who maybe just buys 2 tokens, that is like that person buying 2 tokens, like that's the same amount of profit as 1 month sub for somebody else.
Yep.
Now, how many things are those people buying? Did somebody buy like 40 or 50 tokens, or, you know, the maxed out the amount of tokens they could get so they could get the Auction House Brutosaur? Who the hell knows? But then it's interesting because, as an example, with the level boost existing, you would then say the Blizzard have an incentive to make leveling really arduous. Yet since the introduction of the level boost, they have continually made leveling easier and easier and easier, faster and faster and faster.
yeah, they do have like competing interests basically.
Yeah.
And that's a thing where Callings is actually a pretty good example of that, right? Where if you couldn't basically, well, Night Stalker points out, you know, the tables and Callings print gold for the casual. And that's the thing. That is Blizzard completely understanding the relationship between gold, its necessity, and time. So in the same way Diablo Immortal offers you a couple of rare crests a day, World of Warcraft offers you a calling a day. Obviously you can stack them up to 3 days. So it's not trying to enforce a daily habit, but it is enforcing.
Unlike a lot of other systems.
Exactly. It is enforcing a habit.
Yeah.
And it's selling that for gold because they know time is money. Time is gold. Money is gold. So it's all about that. And it's that thing of they quite overtly have control over which of those knobs they want to tweak. And that's a case where they kind of looked at it. I don't think any of it was intentional at all. Maybe they were kind of, well, I guess is the thing. Where's intention, and where does intentionality get into it wasn't intentional, we saw the outcome, we did nothing. And that's where some of it gets a little bit weird as well. But it's, to me, it's just this thing of, this is super fundamental to any virtual economy design. And there seems to be basically no solution outside of completely destroy your in-game economy and make sure that no player trading can happen, because that's the only way to stop this thing from kind of going. You could maybe enforce bartering by having no currency and having like kind of weird like items and stuff like that. But that would be maybe a weird version, but it's the fact that there's a currency.
Well, some of that happened in Diablo 2. I remember there was like an item, I forget its name, but it almost became it became like a standard unit of currency.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, as you say, it's very hard to solve. I think the way to basically solve it is to take it in-house and legitimize it, and then not fall prey to any of the bad incentives that creates for you, which is obviously very hard. At least that in not doing legendaries again and continually talking about how Dragonflight professions are not going to have like any relationship with gold that is akin to the legendary system we've had currently, and the way that they keep on like making leveling be sort of fast and actually pretty fun. That at least is like heartening.
Yeah.
But you know, the issue is always going to exist. I think the difference is maybe more people feel okay with it when it's legitimized. But then when it's legitimized, maybe there are less overt direct harms like account hacking and stuff like that. So it's an interesting little topic. Time is money. There are profound consequences from this.
Yeah, time is money, and that's, well, I mean, time is virtual money because time is virtual time. because we don't get to live forever and play World of Warcraft for 40,000 years.
Yeah.